Daily Mail reports MSNBC host Joy Reid should be fired for her Trump assassination conspiracy theory, furious Americans say. I don't know if she should be fired. I think MSNBC should be sued for $3 trillion or GDP of France.
Yes.
And the family of Corey Comprator, Donald Trump, and the other two victims should be entitled to $3 trillion, which of course may be unreasonable. So we can settle with $1.5 billion from MSNBC and Joy Reid personally.
I mean, that's the precedent, right? I mean, that's, I would love to see that. I would love to see that. And I feel like Joy Reid has less hair every time I see her. Now she's just given up and shaved it. But the, I think...
She really? No, she's got hair there. It's just hard to see because it's
blown out the lighting.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Black Superman shirt too. Anyway, she's growing increasingly unhinged. She's one of those people that Tim mentioned earlier is definitely bummed he missed. Like she is like,
gross.
Yeah, she's like at home crying, like upset, thinking that her dream, like, and then she's going and making these unhinged videos.
She's saying he wasn't even shot, implying that
conspiracy theory
that Trump, saying it was a hoax.
Do you remember that clip we watched earlier in the week where she was saying for some reason he was allowed to stay on stage and take that photo? Like, she just hates this moment. Part of it is they really hate Donald Trump, and anything that can possibly be good for him, surviving an assassination attempt, rallying a crowd in support, having an iconic photo, like they just can't stand it. So.
Having a competent 15-year-old granddaughter who's able to express herself.
They went after her
on the stage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're right. They can't handle anything good about this man. They always have to demonize him.
That girl's going to be a big star one day too. You can just tell. She's going to be great.
I thought that the RNC, first day aside, I thought the RNC was actually a big testament to family. I thought we saw that with the Trumps and the Vances and a couple different people, I can't remember her name, but the mom who came up and talked about her son who died of a fentanyl overdose.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a really strong remembrance of how sacred and how important the family is throughout this. And it makes me think in contrast of, so many, liberal progressive icons who are sort of like alone, childless. They hate when other people are happy. And in some ways, I feel like Joy Reid, and I don't watch a lot of her content. I watch MSNBC semi-regularly.
You love her.
I do watch MSNBC
Oh, see,
regularly.
You flipped.
But part of it
So
is
you're
like,
Joy Reid
you
fan,
want
is
to
what
know
you're
what
saying.
You got to get your content somewhere.
Yeah, and like with Joy Reid, everyone around her probably cheers her on when she says something more and more extreme about Donald Trump.
But this person is influential. You just said that she hates Donald Trump. There's people within the government that listen to her, that essentially are preached to her, believe what she believes in. The government has been pretty ruthless against Donald Trump. And I kind of want to bring this back. What makes you think that they somehow will stop at a certain level in order to, of course, not try to stop Donald Trump? What do you think? Why do you think is the barrier that's holding them back from committing this ultimate action that they've been kind of leading up to themselves? Like, what's the barrier there that's making you believe that at this time they stop being ruthless, they stop being evil, at this time they stopped making these aggressive steps against Donald Trump?
Well, my personal belief would be like, if I thought that was going to be happening, there's no point in going on in like orderly discourse within society. You've got to make some assumptions. And one of the fundamental assumptions you've got to make is that there is still rule of law by and large in America. And even though President Trump, I believe, has been charged unfairly.
How many times has he been indicted?
I said that right there. Yeah. Even though he's been charged unfairly, that's from a different aspect. I mean, you can do all your scheming and all your things about we're going to pass this legislation, we're going to pass this, we're going to go at him with lawfare.
Try to keep him off the ballot.
Right,
and that was
exactly.
Thing.
But when you go into the realm of we're going to do physical acts of overt violence, that's a whole nother level because it's no way is it even defensible from a legal standpoint. You can't do that and get away with it. So you've got to at least believe that much of America is left and worth fighting for, because if you don't, you're already living in anarchy.
And we're not. Do you remember what happened during Black Lives Matter?
We are in an anarcho-tyranny, 100%.
Well,
what about the Summer of Love? What about all the people that died? 36 people died during the Black Lives Matter protests that were engineered by the corporate media. They take lives very easily.
No, if you're
They're taking lives in Ukraine right now. They took lives in Iraq. They took lives in Syria. They took lives in Libya. They openly, do take lives very easily.
Luke, if you're talking about the ability of corporate media, by and large, to set a narrative by framing certain things in a certain way to demonize people, I 100% agree with you. But I don't think that means that is not the same as taking direct action. That's priming the pump and hoping somebody pops off. That's not the same as planning.
The FBI has admitted that on tape, like James O'Keefe got him to they basically admitted, like, oh, sometimes we make a little social media post and we give them a little bump, is what that guy happily told whoever he was trying to hook up with that night. I think it's a tough spot. Like I don't want you to be like the guy who's here to like officially fight against the, I think that like I think it's respectable to stay away from taking the black pill because the alternative is really sad. I still believe now, like even I'm trying to be like, I really wish, like I really want more information. Yeah. I really want like. I do believe that there is a chance, even if it's super small, that the Swiss cheese theory is true, but we don't. It
ignores contemporary context around the actions they've taken against Donald Trump already.
True, but 0.00001 is still a chance.
And then if it's 0.01 in the other direction, then why settle for the more extreme and unlikely scenario?
Hope.
I would, in my estimation, I flip those odds. I think the conspiracy theory is the 0.00001 and the Swiss cheese is the 0.01. I think that's more logical to me.
You think it's more likely.
We're looking at different sides of the same razor.
You think it's more likely that Secret Service identified a guy 3 hours prior. He was flying a drone around. That's law enforcement reporting. That he was identified suspicious with a rangefinder. He was spotted 26 minutes, 3 hours before, an hour before, 26 minutes before, 10 minutes before he was upgraded to a threat. Not one law enforcement thought to hold Trump. Unprecedented. They have a holding zone for this. So let's talk about, let's count the amount of coincidences. Let's do, they identified him and said nothing. 3 hours. He flew a drone. They said nothing. Now that one's crazy. An hour out, nothing. 26 minutes out, nothing. 10 minutes out, nothing.
When did they discover that he flew the drone?
I don't know.
Well, if they didn't discover it until afterwards, you can't put that into the equation.
Okay, so let's change it. Let's change the equation. A drone was flown over a rally and law enforcement didn't notice. How about that one?
I mean, I think
how did that happen?
It doesn't actually matter if you guys agree, though.
Don Jr. just tweeted. He tweeted this. He was blocked by Secret Service for flying a drone at his own house at Mar-a-Lago because his dad was there, and it's Don Jr. trying to fly a drone. How did a strange kid do it? So let's just do that. You're right. We don't know when they finally figured out he flew the drone. How is it that when Don Jr. tries to fly a drone on his own family's property, he can't do it?
He's got a newer drone.
He's got a new drone?
Yeah, he's got a newer drone that has the blackout.
No, he said Secret Service stopped him personally. He said Secret Service stopped him from flying a drone.
Right, because he's got the one with the blackout. I'm not a drone expert.
No. He's saying an individual. He said the Secret Service stopped him from flying a drone. That means a person.
So it wasn't a blackout zone then. Okay. All right.
So okay. Let's just how is it that Don Jr. can't fly a drone at his own property, but a gunman can fly a drone at a presidential rally?
I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. And from the very beginning, I've said that I want to wait until all the details come out as much as possible. And I hope that they don't take 75 years to come out. And speculation before that is going to be operating on an incomplete set of facts, which is, of course, something that you can engage in. But I prefer to wait until the entire report is done, and knowing full well that when that report is completed and presented, that there will be many people who don't believe a word of it.
Then how do you come to the conclusion that the idea that all of these security failures was not a coincidence? Yeah. How do you make an assessment on its probability?
Yeah, because I believe the bulk of the people who protect the president are
speculating.
And that's why I said I believe. I believe that the bulk of the people who protect the president are fundamentally good and are patriots, and that they will discharge their duties to the highest ability of their capabilities. And so I do not believe.
So that's an emotional, not based on facts. So
that's a conspiracy theory.
But that's not based on any facts. You're just saying, I personally feel a way, I think I'm going to choose to think this thing.
I don't think it's based on a conspiracy theory because
I
don't think it's based entirely on my feelings, because I've got to believe that the Secret Service has some sort of internal...
Yeah, that's an emotional argument again.
No.
Yes, it is.
Wait.
You have to believe that's an emotional argument. It's not based on facts.
Can I finish the sentence?
Sure.
Okay. That they have some form of internal screening process that looks at the people, and much the way you have to have your top secret clearance renewed. They must have some sort of evaluation process that's looking at their agents. And if
Speculative.
If they don't, they should probably have one. But
Okay, so we don't know in that regard. So what's your assessment based on then?
Yeah.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
We don't know what their internal screening process is. That's not part of the equation. We don't know. We do know that Dan Bongino, who is a good source, who was in the Secret Service, has already called out numerous like unprecedented errors in this.
Errors. I can tell you this.
Anomalies. We'll call them anomalies.
So I have not been following. I've been engaged as a delegate from California. I've been involved in the RNC since this occurred. So I have not been tracking this as much as possible. Did Dan say that those could only occur through a deliberate error of? Did he say they could be accidents or they could only happen if somebody allowed it to happen? What did Dan say?
I don't think he said one way or the other. I think he pointed out you don't release the president when you've identified a threat. We have a holding room for this.
Agreed.
So how is it possible then that all of these law enforcement agents, for one, how do we have the dispute between law enforcement and Secret Service as to who is supposed to be guarding the building? By all means, we can argue that each and every one of these things is an anomaly, and it was sometimes people in the lottery. If that's the case, Occam's razor suggests that is the improbable outcome, as you described it, the Swiss cheese of failure that you can move through. There's actually a really simple straight line, and it's that they identified the individual, and there was some official capacity that allowed it to happen. That's actually two steps. That could be one logistics officer. When the Secret Service calls it and we got a threat, they say, it's taken care of, don't worry about it. That sentence from one high-ranking official would shut down all of the normal procedures of Secret Service. That makes infinitely more sense and is a higher probability than Swiss cheese. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.